Hello guys, my name is Lars Stender. I'm a writer from Denmark who specializes in science fiction and fantasy. Today I'm here to read from my fantasy novel Mandigo and the Hellhounds. And if you want to know more about me and my books, please follow me on Facebook. Mandigo and the Hellhounds, Chapter 60. Above, on the surface, the battle between the combined army and Mortero's forces had entered a critical phase. The former and their allies, the animal army led by Magdan, the great wolf, had practically conquered the gatehouse in the outer curtain wall. The wizard Null and the beautiful witch Sasira tried for a time to hold the gatehouse. They were standing atop one of the gatehouse's twin towers and cast one magic spell after the other against the animals and the attacking forces. Sasira conjured up a dust storm that gathered all the loose gravel on the mountain slope and threw it at the attackers with a ferocious force. Null, in the meantime, enchanted granite boulders to form a huge rock giant that started to squash both animals and people alike with his heavy stone fists. But then a gerfalcon dived from great heights through the chaos of fighting trollocs and birds and buried its claws in Sasira's scalp. The witch screamed loudly from pain, staggered back, and stumbled over a kettle of boiling oil, losing her balance. As she fell on the tower roof, still trying desperately to free herself from the claws of the gerfalcon, the kettle that she had stumbled over tipped, spilling its contents of scalding hot oil all over her, boiling her to death right on the spot. Out on the battlefield, her dust storm ran out of wind. Null was now robbed of the protection which Sasira's dust storm had given him. The wasps and the bees zoomed in on his tall, thin figure that rose above all his surroundings like a ship's mast, forcing him to a hasty retreat down through the tower as he desperately tried to protect himself with various magic spells. Some of Mortero's initiates had participated in defending the outer curtain wall. Their energy lightning and magical projections did provide some resistance, but the sheer numbers of attackers were too great. The soldiers from the attacking army managed to lift the portcullis and were now storming into the outer courtyard. This meant that the initiates and the last of the Dracoids on the outer curtain wall were now open to attack from all sides. They fell where they stood, one by one. Null was lucky. A small handful of initiates just managed to escort him to safety behind the inner curtain wall, right before the invaders defeated the last resistance in the outer courtyard. But when the attack on Bloodstone's inner curtain wall was about to take place, the solar eclipse culminated. The animals got confused, and a large part of Mortero's forces managed to regroup in the fortress's inner section. Together with the shadow from the solar eclipse, a sudden silence fell across the whole valley that, until just a few moments before, had resounded with the sounds of battle. It was as though everyone was waiting. They didn't have to wait for long. A strong wind began to blow and dark, thick clouds formed out of seemingly nowhere and gathered in a threatening formation right above Bloodstone. Huge bolts of lightning jumped back and forth between the clouds, and a series of thunderclaps made the surrounding mountains tremble. The clouds started whirling in circles, and soon the funnel of a huge twister was descending on Bloodstone. The twister was accompanied by an infernal noise that sounded like a million lions roaring all at once. The wizard Null pulled his thin lips back, baring his yellow teeth in a wicked smile. "You see," he cried, as hot-tempered wind whipped his long, greasy hair and beard about his head. He had to yell at the top of his lungs in order to be heard. "He's coming! Lord of Shadows is coming!" But no one answered him. Everyone just stared agape and wide-eyed up at the pitch-black funnel in the middle of the twister that slowly reached down towards Bloodstone. Everyone's face was chalk-pale from fear, and even the most seasoned war veterans started to back up, looking for a hiding place. Tornado velocity winds began knocking people down and ripping their clothes and body armor apart. The Dracoids on the curtain walls tried to hold on to the Merlins, but were either hurled to four corners of the compass, or sucked away in a twister together with their weapons and numerous other objects, and tiles from the roofs and piles of hay from the stables. Caspar and Jasper had already taken refuge in the stables when Mortero had returned to the keep in search of mandigo earlier. Their initial intention had been to try to delay him, but then Todekal, who had been walking right behind Mortero, blinked at them and waved them aside. They had immediately made use of that possibility. It wasn't something they were very proud of, but they also knew that even in the pair of them had taken on Mortero together, their chance of defeating their master was very slim. In addition, it seemed that Todekar knew something they didn't, and they liked the cheerful, somewhat absent-minded wizard. They crouched down just inside the stable door and hoped that they had made the right decision. But when they looked up at the swiftly growing twist above them, they felt the blood in their veins turn to ice. I don't like this, Jasper whimpered as he drew further back into the stall. Hay from the floor whirled up and hit his face because of the quickening wind, and he tried to protect himself with the wide sleeves of his frock. Caspar was also very nervous, even though he tried to seem calm on the outside. "It'll be okay," he said. "Mandigo will take care of it." "I hope he hurries, or we'll get sucked up in that!" Jasper screamed above the noise of the storm and pointed towards the twister. Right then, some Sherlocks had got too close to the twister and were sucked up by it. Their screams of death were drowned in the roars of the storm. End of chapter.